Hello folks, my name's Beryl Emberson Nash and I'm here to show you how Bonding Agent 007 works for you. Now you can use it for turning up hems, putting in zippers. You can use it for all your applique work on your fabrics, wood, paper and cardboard, and you can use it for all those repairs that you have hanging in the back of your closet. Now to make life easy for you, I'm going to take it in step-by-step, easy stages so you can follow quite easily exactly how to use it. Now first of all, I want to explain why I'm using one of these non-stick ironing sheets with the bonding powder, because some of you may not have used these before. These are absolutely fantastic, not just for using with the bonding powder. If you're working with any type of glues, waxes or paints, anything that normally leaves a mess behind, do it on this sheet because it's absolutely amazing. What I've done here, just to try and explain a little bit for you, this is actually nail varnish, and everybody knows how difficult it is to get nail varnish off anything. Well look, all I need to do here is just simply peel it off, just with a nail, and then you just use your cloth, and you can just clean the rest of it all the way. So nothing will actually stick, and everything just peels away. So imagine if this was something like your wax, or your glues, or your paints. Everything will just come straight off that piece of paper. Now also I use it because it's an absolutely marvellous pressing cloth. Now when I'm using my bonding powder, I have to use a very hot iron. It's on a cotton linen heat setting. So by using one of these non-stick ironing sheets, this enables me to use this temperature setting on any type of fabric. So I can work it on things like silk, rayon. I even appliqued these suede and leather pieces that you can see up here by using that temperature setting. So things that normally you wouldn't be able to do, you can do by using this non-stick sheet. And when you're doing your regular ironing at home, use that over the top of things like glitter paints and puff paints and your sequins or any of those motifs that the iron always sticks to when you're trying to do your sweatshirts. So that is absolutely fantastic for anything. And one last little hint, if you want to do your baking, you can even use it as a non-stick bake liner too. So that gives you some ideas about the sheet itself. But let's come now to Bonding Agent 007, because this will do literally anything for you. I'm going to start first of all by showing you how to turn up a hem, just to give you the basic idea of exactly what you do. Now first of all, I'm just going to show you on a piece of cotton the general idea. Then I'll show you how to turn up a pair of pants so you can see what to do. Now first of all, you need to mark down with your iron the hem that you actually require. Now don't bother double hemming it, because once this is bonded, it doesn't fray. Now just sprinkle a little of the powder over the area of the hem. Now if you notice, I'm hardly using any powder at all because this is just a lightweight cotton. Now when I did the hems of the denim jeans, I used much more powder because it was a thicker material. So just fold down that hem and you can just blow away or brush away any of the excess powder and cover with that sheet. Remember, the sheet enables you to use that very hot temperature setting on any type of fabric. Now you need a couple of seconds on the wrong side, a little bit longer if it's a thicker material, and a couple of seconds on the other side. Now leave it approximately an hour, and then you can wear it, you can wash it, tumble dry it, send it to the cleaners, it doesn't come apart. And you can see how effective it is because there's no lumps or bumps, there's no marks showing through. So that's absolutely marvellous for all those delicate fabrics. Now you can use it for hems of drapes, you can use it for hems of skirts, or you can use it on if you're wanting to do your pants. Now what you would need to do here, you need to turn them inside out. So all I'm going to do is turn them inside out, and then what I would do is just mark down, which I've already done just to save a little time, the amount of hem that I actually want. And then again you're going to work in here inside the hem, and you just literally, just like I showed you on the cotton, you just simply sprinkle the powder over. Then any of the excess you can just literally blow away. And then you simply cover with that non-stick ironing sheet that protects the garment from the heat of the iron. And remember, you're using a very hot iron. It's on a cotton linen heat setting. Now I'm using this on woolen trousers, but that temperature setting doesn't affect them because I'm using one of these protective sheets. So remember, you always use that sheet every time you use the bonding powder. Now I've just turned the hem up there on one side, and you saw how easily that was to do. Then I would do the other side exactly the same, and then I would just finish off doing the edges here so that they're all bonded all the way around. And you can see it's really very, very effective, and of course you don't get any sewing marks showing through at all. Now that's just a little bit about turning up hems. Now what about zippers? Oh, and I must tell you, it doesn't go hard. Now it won't gum your needle up, it doesn't go hard at all, so if you're wanting to use it for basting, it's absolutely terrific for putting these in. I mean, I wouldn't try to put this in on a sewing machine. I don't know about you out there, because it always used to end up getting a bit lumpy and bumpy or lopsided. Now, what you do with the powder, you need a little paintbrush and you need a little bit of water. So dip your paintbrush in the water and then just dampen down one side of your zipper. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because I want to do one side before the other side. And by dampening this area down, it means that when I come to sprinkle the powder will cling to the moisture just in the areas that I actually want. Now you can see again, you don't use a lot of powder. And if you keep this in a dry cupboard, it will last you indefinitely, it doesn't wear out, and it doesn't go off. Now take your garment edge, again I'm just going to use a piece of material so you can see clearly exactly what I'm doing. Take your garment edge and place it over the top. Now just blow away your excess powder again. So you've just got the powder on the area that you want. Now that protective sheeting allows you to work even over your delicate nylon zips, and you don't have to worry about the heat. Remember, I'm using a hot temperature setting. It's on a cotton linen heat setting, but by using that sheet, it enables me to work on any type of fabric. Now you need a couple of seconds on the one side and a couple of seconds on the other side, and you can see how easy it is. And ladies, once you've actually bonded that side into place, just got a little bit of extra powder there, once you've actually bonded that into place, then you can do the other side exactly the same. But remember, it doesn't gum your needle up, it doesn't go hard. So now that flat zip, you can just pop that through the sewing machine and you don't have to worry about it because it doesn't go lumpy and bumpy. So to do the other side, you do exactly the same thing, a little bit of water, and then you just apply the water to the other side of the zipper in exactly the same way. Now remember, the water allows you to sprinkle the powder in the area that you want, because then you can shake away any of the excess if you need to. And then you just get rid of the excess powder. And again, let me just show you how to clean the sheet, just to get rid of any powder that might get bonded on there by mistake. Because remember, this sheet, nothing sticks to it. So you can just keep wiping it clean and using it over and over again. Then your zipper, the powder will cling to the moisture. So then you just take your other garment edge, you place that over the top like so. And it doesn't matter whether you're doing an open zip, a closed zip, or a concealed zip, it works exactly the same. Because that sheet is going to protect your garment from the heat of the iron, no matter what types of fabrics you're working on. So if you're wanting to use it on a silk, a rayon, a nylon, it will not affect it whatsoever. And remember, you do a few seconds on the one side, and then simply turn it over, and do a few seconds on the other side. And you can see how perfectly flat that goes in, and then you can just pop that through the sewing machine, and it'll put the zip in perfectly flat. No lumps or bumps, and it doesn't go lopsided or uneven. And it really is a fantastic way of doing your zippers. Now, if you're doing it on an area like I have on the little girl's dress here, I didn't even bother to stitch through that because that's not even going to get very much wear or tear. But obviously, if you're putting it in a strategic place, I would recommend that you do actually stitch through it afterwards. It is a nice strong bond, and it will wash, it will go through your tumble dry, and it will go into the dry cleaners. It won't come apart. But remember, stitching through it is so easy to do because it doesn't gum your needle up and it doesn't go hard. Now, to go on to applique, you can do so many different things, not just on your fabric. You can work on all types of surfaces. So if you want to use it on paper, on wood, on cardboard, even ceramic pots, you can do it by using Bonding Agent 007. So let me show you how to use it for your craft projects. Well, now we're going to have a little bit of fun and work with our appliques for our projects with craft, if you're working on paper, wood, cardboard, or if you want to use it on your fabrics. And you know how difficult it is when you're trying to cut the fusible webbings out to match those awkward shapes. Now, especially when you've got something like this with open weave-in, it's virtually impossible to do. With the bonding powder, you again use your paintbrush and a little bit of water. Now, working on the wrong side of your applique or your transfer, you just dampen down all the outside edges. And the reason you're doing this is so you can seal the edges before you start. Because you know, if you don't cut the fusible webbings out to match those areas exactly, that's where you get them lifting and coming away when you pop them in the washing machine. Now look, if you're doing this with the powder, it's so simple and it's so easy. It saves a lot of time and a lot of effort. Now I'm actually only going to do the outside edges, but if you prefer, especially with a larger applique, you can simply add a little piece into the middle. You can go over those edges where you have all of those extra bits that you would normally have great trouble doing. You can do whatever you want to do very, very quickly. Now sprinkle the powder over the area of your applique or your transfer, whatever you're wanting to do. Now if you notice, the powder is going to leave me an outline here. So I know that I've actually sealed all the way around those edges before I start. You can add a little bit into the middle wherever you've added any of the water. But look, can you see what happens? Now you can literally get rid of that, and you don't even have to waste it. You can transfer that back into your tub and you can recycle it, so you don't have any wastage at all. You know yourself, when you cut out your fusible webbing, you end up throwing half of it in the garbage because the rest of it is of no use anymore. Now I'm going to show you how to put this applique onto a cushion. But it doesn't matter whether you're working on a t-shirt, a sweatshirt, onto a cushion, whatever you're wanting to work on, it works the same. So you just pop that over the top. Now any excess pieces that you have there, just blow away from the outside. Now cover with your sheet once more. Remember, that sheet enables you to work with a very hot iron on all your different types of fabrics. Now, a couple of seconds is generally all that's needed. A few more seconds if it's a thicker applique or transfer. And normally, if you're working on a t-shirt, I would recommend you actually turn it inside out once you've done the right side, and you apply the heat that side as well. But on something like this, there's no need, because you actually can't do that. And you can see how effective it is. Now, if you want to sew through it, then you can do that without a problem. Because if you notice here, normally you have a problem trying to stitch through a fusible webbing because it'll gum your needle up. Now this one up here, this little children's romper suit, that's actually sewed round the edges. I've also appliqued over here on the t-shirt some real suede pieces, and you know that's virtually impossible. Well, it is impossible because you can't use a hot iron on suede. Now it might be ultra suede, it might be real suede like I've done. And if I can just show you here on this t-shirt, this was just a plain t-shirt, and I just added some scraps of suede pieces and edged with a bit of glitter paint. You can see how effective that is. Now on the shirt here, I didn't even buy a proper transfer. I just found some material that I liked, and all I did with it was I actually trimmed those little cards and the little dice out, and then I just appliqued it straight onto my shirt, exactly as you saw me doing with the cushion here. So it makes no difference what you're working on. It's very, very simple. Now to go on to some craft projects, and you maybe want to work on something like a bit of paper, on some cardboard. This is wood, and again all I've done is I've just cut a piece of fabric out and I've bonded it on directly to the wood, the paper or the cardboard. Now this is actually tissue paper, and we've made this posy bag by bonding the edges. Now if you were trying to use a glue gun to do that, you know that delicate tissue paper would just tend to shrivel, or it would go very lumpy and it would ruin the effect. But this is just paper bonded to paper. Now I'm going to show you how effective it is to do something like this, just to give you the general idea of being able to use it on other types of surfaces. And again, this is just a little piece of fabric that's been cut out, and we've just applied it in exactly the same way. So let me just move this out of the way, and then I'm just going to show you here on the ceramic pot. Now you can imagine these make absolutely fantastic gifts, great idea, and again you're going to work in the same way. A paintbrush and a little bit of water, and you just apply the water around the edges. Now this is just a very small piece, so I'm only doing the very edges. There's no need for me to apply the water anywhere else because it's actually permeating inwards. And then I just sprinkle the powder over the area that I want, just around the edges, but it actually arrives all over. And again, you can just get rid of that excess powder, or you can recycle it again. Now that goes on to your clay pot. You just pop that over there, and I'm just going to get rid of that excess powder. I'm going to place the sheet over the top, and in exactly the same way, I'm just sealing that onto the pot with that heat of the iron. Now you can imagine trying to do that normally. Isn't that easy? And then you can just finish that off by adding a little bit of glitter paint or whatever. Let me just finish that edge off there. And you can just finish it off very, very easily. Now, like I say, this might be on a clay pot like I'm doing here, or it might be on a piece of paper, might be on a piece of cardboard, whatever you want to do. And you just simply finish those edges off with your glitter paint to make it look effective. Now, if you want to use it for doing something like the badges, again, it's very easy. And remember, every time you use this, once it's bonded in place, you can wash it, dry clean it, tumble dry it. It won't come apart. And when you're coming to do things like little name tags, how long does it take you to sew those in place? Well, this will take you a matter of seconds. It's very simple and it's very easy to do. Now just think about it. There's endless possibilities. You can use Bonding Agent 007 for lots of craft projects. I mean, one of the things I really find is so delightful is this bingo bag. Now, my friend actually made this, so I wanted to bring it along and show everybody how effective it was, because again, she just did the same as I did on the shirt, just cut a piece of fabric out and applied it to the canvas, and then added the little children's money here, paper to the canvas, and you can see how effective that is. It's the same as I did here on my sewing bag, because again, I just used the relevant pieces of fabric and edged them with a little bit of glitter paint to make it look effective. And it really does stand out and makes it a little bit different. And you know, you can use it. My daughter did this present for me, and I'm really delighted with this. Again, she just took little pieces of fabric and she just bonded it onto paper and cardboard to give me an absolutely beautiful present. She did that when she was 9 years old and had great fun with it. Now, for quilters out there, it's absolutely fantastic. You know, when you come to do any of your applique work on your quilting, it is so simple to do. Again, you just do the same thing with a paintbrush and water, and you can apply your appliques wherever you want them so quickly and so easily. And then, of course, you can just stitch around them because this will not gum your needle up. So for quilting projects, it's absolutely marvelous. And again, if you do any needlework, you can use this to bind your edges. Now, this is a great problem for a lot of you ladies out there, but by using this to bind your edges on your needle point, it really is effective. I've even used it here on the drapes. And I've made the drapes, if you can see this little bit, and along with the little pelmet valance here. And all I did for that was I just covered a piece of cardboard. And this is just bonded with the powder in exactly the same way to give me the top valance here. And it's very effective. And then I've used it to do the drapes as well. So there's no stitching involved at all. And the best thing is you can turn an ordinary room into a designer room just using pieces of this fabric. You can cut these out. You could pop it onto the child's crib. You can put it onto the pillow shams. You can put it onto the quilts, anything that you want to. So you just think about it. There's lots of ways you can use it. And something else, if you can come up with a nice project you think we might be able to use in one of our future videos, please let us know, because we'd love to tell everybody what you've made too. Now, what I'm going to come on to now is how you can actually save a lot of money. I've shown you how to turn up hems, I've shown you about putting in zippers, and I've shown you about your applique work and crafts. But you know, if you want to save a lot of money, and you've got something lying in the back of your closet that needs repairing, And you might want to turn something that looks like this into something like that. I'm going to show you how to do that next. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there's two types of repairs. First one is for tears or rips, where you have all the material there, and the second one is for holes. Now, I'm going to start, first of all, where you do have all the material. In other words, if you've got a rip or a tear like this one, where you can actually put the material back together again. So I'm going to show you how we actually repaired this here. But it doesn't matter what type of material you're working on, and it doesn't matter how big the repair is, it works exactly the same as I'm going to show you here. So in other words, if you have something that looks like that, we can do it for you. It's going to cost you literally pennies. Now, if you take something like that to be repaired, and it's in an expensive wool suit, like I had here, that will cost you in the region of $50, $60, even $70 to get that sort of repair done on a garment like this. Now, when I repaired my jacket, I had to work on the inside. So what I did was I unpicked the lining so I could get to the area that I wanted to work on. Now, I use patches that look completely different for you here because I want you to see what I'm doing. But when I'm working at home on a regular fabric, I would just use a piece that would blend in a little bit better. But remember, these are going on the wrong side, so nobody's actually going to see them again. You don't have to worry too much. Now, for the purpose of the video here, so you can see clearly what I'm doing, I'm going to show you on a piece of wool material rather than a complete jacket, just so you can see more clearly exactly what I'm doing. Now, working on the inside, imagine this is my jacket, you just pull the fibres through onto the inside. So in other words, you're turning the garment really inside out. That's what I did with the denim jeans. I had to turn them inside out. Now, when you've got the fibres all the way through, you can just push them back where they came from. Now, if you've got a lot of loose fibres, then I always recommend you spend a little bit of time here piecing them back where they came from. That'll give you the best repair. Now, sprinkle a little of the powder over the area of the tear like so, just over the area that you're going to place a patch. Now, remember what I said, it doesn't really matter what you're using for patches. I just use my cheap pieces of cotton material just so you can see what I'm actually doing. Now, these patches need to be slightly bigger than the actual area of the repair. Now, when I'm doing it here, that's quite sufficient. But obviously, when I did the denim jeans, I needed a much bigger patch. In fact, this side is bonded from here all the way down to here. So the patch on the jeans actually took up this whole area on the inside. Now, I always use patches that have a circular or oval shape. And a little tip for you here, this means you've got no little corners to actually catch on anything to start peeling it away. Now, you place that over the top of the area of the tear. Now, just blow away any of your excess powder from the surrounding area and cover with a sheet. Now, remember, this non-stick ironing sheet enables you to use that hot iron. Now, remember, it's a cotton linen heat setting. It doesn't matter what fabric you're working on. This sheet will protect your garment from that very hot iron. Now, you need just a couple of seconds on the wrong side, on the inside of your garment, and then turn it on to the right side and do a couple of seconds there as well. Now, this is also a waterproof bond. Now, any of you that may have something like a tent, an awning, a sleeping bag, it works perfectly and it gives you a perfectly waterproof seal. Now, remember, this is something you can put in the washing machine, even on a boil wash. You can send it to the dry cleaners and you can pop it in the tumble dryer. Now, it's not going to come apart. Once you've bonded this, it is a really strong bond. Now, have a look at this, because you saw how I put the tear in there, and you can see how effective it is. It blends all the fibres back where they came from. Now, that's on pure wool, and that's just saved you a lot of money. Now, you might want to do something on maybe polar fleece. I just want to give you a few different examples here. And again, it works exactly the same. You're going to work on the inside of your fabric, and then you just pull the fibres through and you press them back into shape. Sprinkle a little of the powder over the area of the tear, and again you just cover with a patch. And remember, I'm just using scraps of my cotton material. You can do the same. Blow away the excess powder and then just cover with that sheet again and apply the heat of the iron. So again, you can repair all those garments you have lying in the back of your closet. Save yourself an absolute fortune, because this is going to repair them, and it's literally costing you pennies. Now, I've got several different repairs where I have examples here, just so you can see it on different types of material, and you can see how effective it is on literally anything. Now, this is on polar fleece again, remember, and you can see how effective it is. Now, it might be on a sweatshirt. I have a lot of people asking me, well, what about if it's a light material? Well, if I can show you here on the sweatshirt on how I repair even on something like white. If you're going to replace material here, all you need is to make sure that you have a patch that is a very light colour as well. So just, if you can see this, see when we've got the garment in the way, it's a little bit more difficult to see, but just sprinkle the powder over again, place the patch over, blow away your excess powder, and cover with that non-stick ironing sheet to protect from the hot iron. And remember, you always use a hot iron in order for the bonding powder to work, and that sheet enables you to work on literally any type of fabric. And again, you just apply the heat. Now, your silks, your rayons, anything like that, nylon, it works exactly the same as well. Now, you saw the tear that was in there, and you can see how effective it is. Now, I'm showing you here on tears where the material is all there to replace. What I want to go on to now is how to repair a hole. Because if you've got material missing, then you've obviously got to replace your material. Well, now we've shown you how to repair your garments with the rips and the tears. But what happens when you've got something that has a hole? It might be a moth hole, it might be a cigarette burn. But once material is missing, they are things you normally can't get repaired. I'm going to show you first of all how to repair a cigarette burn. Now, if this is in your expensive wool suit, then it's going to cost you a lot of money. It'll cost you a new suit to replace it. What I'm going to do first of all for a burn hole is trim away the burnt edges, because obviously you want to get rid of any of the burnt edges, or it might be something that's gone a bit hard depending on the material. Now, trim those away first so that you end up with just a little hole. Now, you need to trim a little piece of material because you have to replace what's missing. And where do you find the material to replace in the hole? Well, have a look on a seam or a hem. Now, on my jacket over here that I had with the cigarette burn, I actually found a piece of material just off here where I'd unpicked the lining. Because remember, once you've finished doing the repair, the relining is placed back, so you're not going to notice if anything's missing. So just trim a little piece off a hem or a seam somewhere. And then with a sharp pair of scissors, just cut it up as fine as you can. Now, the finer you can cut this up, the better it's going to work. So just keep cutting it up and cutting it up and cutting it up till it looks a little bit like fluff. You just spend a little bit of time until it really does go back into those tiny little pieces. Now, take a little bit of the bonding agent and just add it with those pieces of fabric. Now, roll it into a little ball in your fingers. And then on the inside of the garment, just like we did when we were doing the repairs, you simply place that into the hole and press it down firmly. Now, add a little bit more of the bonding agent and another little patch to cover it over. Now, remember, again, if you're working on the inside, it doesn't really matter what you use for your patches because nobody's going to see them again. If you really want to worry about that, then you can always blend it in with the type of colour that you're working on. Blow away any of the excess powder from round and about, and then cover with your sheet again. Now, remember, when we're using the bonding powder, you have to use a very hot, dry iron. And this sheet enables you to work on all your types of fabrics, and you don't have to worry about it. Now, I'm showing you here how to repair a small hole, cigarette burn or a moth hole, in a wool type fabric. Because wool has this amazing ability, when you chop it all up, to actually blend back together again. And if I just show you how effective this is, you can see, just get rid of that little piece of burnt bit that I cut out, how effective it is. Isn't that good? And that's just saved you a lot of money on your expensive suits. Now, if it's a moth hole and you're working on a sweater, it works in exactly the same way. Because again, a sweater has a wool base. So anything with wool bases, you can chop the fibres up. Now, people always say to me, well, where on earth do you get the fibres to go into a sweater? Well, all you do is cut a little piece off the joined edges on your seams without a problem. Now, if you have a little moth hole that maybe looks something like this, then all you do is trim a little piece off your seam. Just be careful not to cut too much off so that you don't cut the stitches. And then you just simply, again, cut it up as fine as you can. Now, the finer you can cut it up, the better it'll work again, remember? So just keep cutting it up till it gets back to look like little bits of fluff. And again, you just mix it with your bonding agent, and you just take enough to fit into the hole and roll it into a ball. Now, you're going to work on the wrong side again, so you just simply, where did my little hole go? It's just up there. Place it into the hole and press it down firmly. Add a little bit more of your bonding agent and another little patch to cover it over. Now, I know you wouldn't normally use patches that look as completely different as this, but remember, I'm showing you so you can see exactly what I'm doing. Cover with your sheet and apply the heat of the iron. Now, this is actually a silk Angora mix sweater. So, you know, this was very expensive when it was purchased, so it wouldn't want to be thrown away or given to Goodwill because you found a couple of moth holes in it. Remember, you do one side and then you do the other side just to completely seal it. And remember, this you can pop in the washing machine, you can send it to the cleaners, you can tumble dry it, you don't have to worry. This will not come apart once it's actually being bonded. Now, just to let you see again, that's where we've actually done the repair for the moth hole, and it's in the center of my hand, so you can see how effective it is. I did exactly the same way on this woolen sweater over here, and this had several different types of material. I've got cotton, the glitter area, and also the lamb's wool. So we've actually done moth holes in that sweater exactly the same way as well. Now, they're how to repair holes in your wool type garments where you can chop it up. Now, if you're working on other types of fabrics, you wouldn't chop the material up, you'd actually cut a piece of material out slightly bigger than what's missing. Now, if you're working on anything that's got a pattern in it, obviously, well, I hope you would realize you wouldn't chop it up because otherwise you're going to lose the pattern. What you have to do in this situation is actually replace the pattern pieces. Now, in order to explain this, what I've done here, I've just cut this section out. So I'm just going to explain how to replace something like that. Now, it doesn't have to be as large a hole as this. This is so you can see clearly what I'm going to do. Now, you need to find a piece of material that is going to fit in with the pattern that's missing. So you look on a hem, on a seam, on a shoulder pad, the back of the neck lining, anywhere where you just might have a bit of excess material. And then, a bit like when we were working to do our appliques and transfers, you're going to use a little bit of paintbrush and water again. Because this time you only want to put the powder around the edges. So you just simply add a little bit of water around the right side of your patch, because this is going to fit in with the pattern. And then sprinkle the powder around those edges. Now, when you do that, what happens is the powder clings to the moisture, and then it's just going where you want it. Now, I can pick that up, and again, I can just get rid of that excess powder. And remember, you can recycle it, and you can use it over again. Now, take your patch, place it down flat, and cover with the garment so that it matches in with that pattern quite easily. Now, again, just blow away any of the excess powder that you might have there. Now, I just need to remove my sheet because I didn't do that, so that's not something you do. You simply place that over the top. Once again, just line it up, and I need my sheet over on the right side, and then I just apply the heat. And a couple of seconds on the right side here, and then you can turn over and do the same on the other side. And remember, you can wash it, dry clean it, whatever you want to do with it. And you can see how effective it is, because that's just applied that patch for me very, very easily. Now, this is exactly how I did my silk blouse. And I found the piece I wanted for the silk blouse. This had a little cigarette burn in the front of it. So you remember what I did? I trimmed away the burnt edges just like I did on the wool piece. But instead of chopping the material up, I found a piece that I wanted off the back of the neckline interfacing, because that piece nobody's going to notice is missing. Now, it doesn't matter that interfacing is attached, because the interfacing is on the wrong side. So I've cut a piece out slightly bigger than what's missing, and I've just blended it in with the pattern. And you can see how effective that is. It really does fit in very well. Now, that's 100% silk, so that's obviously saved a lot of money. On the polyester blouse here, I did it the same way. I had a large hole in the front of it, and I found the piece of material I wanted on the neckline back here, and I just cut a little piece out of there so that it blended in with the pattern. Now, on the rayon jacket here, I did the same thing again, only this time I actually found the piece on the shoulder pad where nobody's actually going to notice it's missing. So it doesn't matter where you find the pieces of material from, as long as you can find a little piece of material that'll just blend in with your pattern. Now, I also used it even on things like suede and leather, because on the suede, again, I just undid the lining so I could work on the wrong side. Now, I used patches of any old material again, so you can see clearly what I did. And remember, once you've finished repairing it, you can just simply stitch that back in place again, so nobody will ever notice you've done anything. Now, on the suede, because it's got a nap on it, you can not see the tear. So the L-shaped tear that was just here just blends in with the nap. Now, on the leather here, leather you can't make invisible because it just will not work. But what it does is it blends in so that it holds everything together. Now, if that was just left on its own, it would just get worse and worse. Whereas with this, you can repair it very, very easily. So you can use it on your leather, you can use it on your suede, you can use it on all types of your garments, from your delicate silks up to your heavyweight canvas and awnings. And remember, these are waterproof. So you can use it on all those things that you would need a waterproof repair, like your tents and your awnings and things like that. Now, it also works on upholstery. So I'm going to show you how to do that next. Now, on upholstery, you have two different types of repairs. You have the tears or the rips, where all the material is still available, or you have a hole where you need to replace the material. I'm going to show you first on a rip or a tear that might have occurred. Now, you need to use a scrap of material in order to put a patch on the wrong side. Now, I'm using a patch of material here that looks completely different because all the material is available to replace back over. Now, again, you're going to use a little bit of water so that the powder can cling to the moisture, because you're going to push this patch through from the right side. Now, if you're working on something where you can actually remove the zip covers, then that's fine. You can work on the inside and then put them back on again. I'm showing you here if this was a couch or a cushion where you actually can't get to the inside. So just apply the heat and sprinkle the powder all the way over the patch. Then you need to be able to push this patch through that tear and just flatten it out underneath. So the patch is going to hold the tear all firmly in place. Now, if you have any excess, just brush it away or blow it away. And then again, you're going to use your sheet. Just remember to wipe that clean from any excess powder, and that goes over the top. Now, the sheet, of course, is going to allow you to use that temperature setting, the hot iron again, on your fabrics that normally you wouldn't be able to use a hot iron anywhere near. And you just need to apply the heat. Now, you don't have to actually move the iron at all, just applying the heat is quite sufficient. So you need a couple of seconds. If it's a thick material, give it several seconds so that the actual bonding powder can work, and you can see how effective it is. Now, I've shown you there on material where it's all available. If you have a hole, and I have another cushion here to try and explain this, I've actually already done a hole right in the center. And the way I've done that is to use a piece of material that blends in with the pattern. Now, if you can get the exact pattern, that's fine. If you can't get the exact pattern, just try and blend the colours in like I did here so that it all blends in with the pattern. Now you can find a piece of material somewhere like underneath if you're working on a couch, or if it's on a cushion, you can find it somewhere that is less noticeable than something like this. So if you've got a large hole and it's somewhere that's very noticeable, then what you need to do, again, you're going to use your paintbrush and a bit of water, and this time, instead of dampening the whole area, you're just going to do around the edges, because you need the center of the patch to actually show through the hole. So we're just going to attach the powder to the water all the way around those edges. And again, you're going to push this through the hole. So you need to press that through the hole and press it through all the way around. Now once you've actually got that in place, you can just maneuver it so that it blends in as best you can. Now I'm just going to blow away any excess powder from around there and just make sure it's all attached okay. Now again, just wipe away that excess powder, cover with your sheet and apply the heat of the iron once more. Now again, you're just doing a couple of seconds on each side. If you can get to the wrong side, that's fine. If you can't, you just work from the right side like I'm showing you here. And a couple of seconds, several seconds for your thicker material, just for the bonding to actually work. And then again, this was for a hole where material was actually missing, and you can see how effective it is. So you can blend it all in with the pattern. So we've repaired 2 holes in that little seat cushion from the right side. Now they were examples on your upholstery. And what I've tried to do here is show you just a tiny fraction of things that you can do with the bonding powder. Now don't forget, it comes with a complete set of instructions, so you can follow everything step by step. And what I suggest you do is you try it out now on a scrap of material so that you know what you're doing before you start on your garment. Now if you have any creative ideas, any projects that you work on, we'd love to hear from you so that we can share your ideas with everybody else. Now I hope you enjoy using bonding powder. I hope you save a lot of money on your repairs, and I hope we've given you lots of ideas for your creative work on your art and craft projects too. If we can be of any help to you, you've got our phone number, you've got our name and address, just contact us and we'll be happy to hear from you. Thank you for watching. This is Beryl Emberson Nash saying good bonding.